Good afternoon, everyone. I welcome all to the next session on Java programming language. So in this session, we are going to see about different keywords in our language, that is Java. So we all know that each and every programming language will have some reserved words through which we can do programming in that language. So we have many languages like something like COBOL, Fortran, Pascal, and then BPCL, B language, C language. And these three are very familiar to us: C, C++, Java, and Python is also very familiar. So if you observe any language, each and every language will have a set of words through which we can do, through which we are doing programming. For example, let us consider a C programming language. So in C programming language, we start with the including header files into the program, and then we define the main function. For example, when we want to define the main function, generally we go for int main or void main. So when we declare a main function as void main, which means void is a keyword and main is a keyword, or we can say void and main, or those two are the names of the reserved words in C language. So similar to that, each and every language will have a set of reserved words which are used for us in order to do programming. So let us consider the main method in Java programming language. So in main method of Java programming language, there are some set of words: public, static, void, main. So these all four are called as keywords of the language, because these four words are used to define the main function. And similarly, when we want to declare an integer variable, or when we want to declare a variable which can store integers, we use the keyword int. Or when we want to declare a floating point variable, then we use float. We can call that int or float as keywords of the language. And similar to that, we have many more keywords, right? Many more keywords. For example, while we are dealing with the conditions, we have if else, or while dealing with the iterational statements, we have while, do while, for. And when we are dealing with the jump statements, we have break, continue. So all these words are called as keywords of the programming language. So by using those words, we are going to do programming. So see the definition here. In many languages, right? In many languages, such as C and similar environments like C++ and Java, not only in C, C++ and Java, in all the programming languages, we can say in all the programming languages, a keyword is a reserved word which identifies a syntactic form. So there are some reserved words for every programming language. Each and every word have certain syntactic form. For example, if we define if, which means we are going to check condition, that is a syntactic form of if, right? And then these are the examples. Words used in control flow constructs such as if, then, or else are called as keywords. In these languages, keywords cannot also be used as a names of variables, functions, class names, or package names, etc. Remember this point. We are not allowed to use these keywords as a names of a variable. For example, if I want to declare an integer variable, I can define it by declaring int space a. So this is valid. But if I want to declare an integer variable, I am not allowed to define an integer variable like this, int if. because if is a keyword in Java programming language. And similarly, when I want to declare a class, I just declare a class as some class keyword followed by name of the class. So it is valid because A is not a keyword in Java programming language. But unfortunately, if I want to declare a class, I cannot declare it as class space int. It is not a legal validation because int is a keyword in Java. So for any names, it may be a variable name, or it may be a method name, or it may be a class name, or it may be a package name, interface name, anything. Any name in the programming language cannot be a keyword. We can use any other names other than the keywords of the programming language. Right? Hope you understand. And coming to the next one, see the list of keywords in Java programming language. We have a huge list of keywords in Java. So by using all these keywords only, we are going to do something in the programming. So let us see how these keywords are divided, right? Let us see how these keywords are divided. So here, these keywords are divided into 5 categories. We can say these keywords are divided into 5 categories. So let us see each and every keyword in detail, right? So the 5 categories are primitive types, modifiers, declarations, control flow, and miscellaneous, right? These are the 5 categories of keywords that we are going to use these keywords in our Java programming language, right? So let us start the things with one by one. Here, see, Boolean. So this keyword is used to declare a variable of Boolean data type. So if you declare a variable as a Boolean data type, it can store only 2 values, that is either 1 or 0. It cannot store any other values, right? So similar to that, we have already discussed that in Java programming language, right? In Java programming language, data types are divided into 5 categories. So generally these data types are generally divided into 2 categories in any programming languages. Those are primitive types and non-primitive types. Primitive types and non-primitive types. The things that comes along with the programming language are called as primitive types, and the things which are created in the programming language are called as non-primitive types. We can also call them as default data types, and we can call them as derived data types, right? So arrays, right, and something called as structures or unions are all the different examples of this primitive data, non-primitive data types. Whereas these primitive data types are mainly divided into 4 categories: the things which deals with the integers, the things which deals with the floating point numbers, and the things which deals with the characters, and then Boolean. Again, these integers are divided into 4 categories: byte, short, int, and long, where this floating point are divided into 2 categories: float and double, and character is having only one data type, that is character, and Boolean is having only one data type, that is Boolean. So this Boolean, character, double, float, long, int, short, byte, all these are called as data types, and all these data types are called as all the data types are declared in the program by using a set of words called as keywords of that programming language, right? Here Boolean is a keyword which is used to declare a Boolean data type in the program. Byte is a keyword which is used to declare a byte variable. Character is a keyword which is used to declare a character variable. Similarly, by using short, int, long, float, and double, we are going to declare respected variables in the programming language, right? And then you can see here, there is one more keyword which is added in the primitive types and void, that is a void keyword. Void keyword. If you observe the main method of Java programming language, we have a set of keywords called as public, static, void, main, and within the braces we have a string args. So among all these four keywords, we have a keyword called as void. So this void specifies that this main method is going to return nothing. So if you write void in front of a any method, it states that the method is not going to return anything. For example, if you write public static int main, then it states that after the execution of the main method, one integer value is going to be returned to the compiler. So if you specify float main, after the execution of the main method, one float value will be returned to the compiler. But if you specify void, means that the main method is going to return nothing, right? Not only main method. So this void keyword can be used along with the any method. We have seen in the constructor overloading, we have declared void m, void m1, etc. So which states that m is going to return nothing, or m1 is going to return nothing because it was declared with the void keyword. So void states that certain particular method is going to return nothing. And then these are the keywords which comes under the modifiers, and the people are very much familiar about these three keywords: public, protected, and private, right? So if you declare a variable as a public, it can be used anywhere in the program. If you declare a variable as a protected, it can be used in the same class and its subclass. And if you declare a variable as private, we cannot use them in any other classes, right? Similar to that, we have an abstract keyword. We use this abstract keyword while declaring an abstract class, which will be covered maybe in unit 3 or unit 4, right? And then static keyword. I will explain this static keyword in the next slides. At the same time, I will explain this final keyword also in the next slides, right? So next one, transient, volatile, and synchronized keyword. This keyword will be covered in threads topic, which will be covered in unit number 4 or unit number 5. And then native. Next one, under the declarations, we have 7 keywords. Class. This class keyword is used to declare a class. And then interface. This interface keyword is used to declare an interface. So when we want to define a class, we define it as class space a, which means class is a keyword which is used to define a class. Similarly, when we want to define an interface, we use the keyword interface. For example, interface X, which means we are going to declare an interface X with the use of the keyword interface, right? And then enum, I think you all are familiar with enumerations. You can see the enumerations topic in C, where we can assign some values to the names, or we can say we can give names to the values, right? So by using enumerations, we can provide names to certain values. So in order to create an enumeration in Java programming language, we use enum keyword. I request all the people to please don't get confused with these keywords. In the future, we are going to use these keywords in the programming languages, in our Java programming language, so that you can get better understand. You can understand betterly. So before that, I am just making you to familiarize with these keywords. Just I am showing you what are the different keywords which are available in Java programming language, and I will explain each and every keyword in the later slides, right? So enum keyword, it is used to declare enumerations in the program. And then coming to the next keyword, extends, right? This extends keyword is used for inheritance, right? We have already seen in the previous examples. So for example, there is a class A and there is a class B. If we want to use the properties of class A into class B, then we can declare class A extends class B, which means all the properties of B will be used in A. So in order to inherit one class into another class, we are going to use this extends keyword. So, and then implements. So if we want to use an interface, for example, let us see here, there are two things. A is a class, B is an interface. Listen carefully. A is a class, B is an interface, and there exists one more class called as C. In C, if you want to use A, we have to use extends A, because A is a class, right? A is a class. So in C, if you want to use B, we need to write implements B, because B is an interface. So coming to the point, if you want to inherit the properties of one class into another class, then use extends keyword. Or if you want to implement one interface into a class, then use implements keyword. And then similar to these first two, that is class and interface, package is the keyword which is used to declare a package in the program. Class is a keyword which is used to declare a class. Interface is a keyword which is used to declare an interface. Package is a keyword which is used to declare a package in the program. And then coming to the next one, throws. So during the topic of exception handling, I think the people who have covered the C++ programming language may be familiarized with this exception handling. So in C++, we have three keywords. Those are try, catch, and the third one is throw. So in C++, there are three keywords for exception handling. In Java programming language, there are 5 keywords for exception handling. Those 5 keywords are, right, try, catch, throw, throws, finally. So by using these 5 keywords, we are going to do exception handling in Java programming language. So remember these 5 names. Remember these 5 names. I will explain about this throws keyword. I will explain about try, catch, throw, throws, and finally all these 5 keywords when we are covering the topic of exception handling. Up to then, just remember these names. Throws keyword, it was used in exception handling. And coming to the next one, the fourth type of Java keywords are called as control flow keywords. What this control flow in the sense, all the control statements comes under this control flow. For example, if, else, while, do while, right, break, continue, switch, case, default, etc. All this comes under this control flow. If is a two-way conditional statement. Two-way conditional statement in the sense, if you have written something called like this, if A greater than B, and if there is some block here, and there is some else block here, right? If this condition is true, then compiler will execute this block, right? In case, if the condition is false, then the compiler will execute this block. So there are two ways. If the condition is true, we can go in one way of execution. And if the condition is false, we will go in another way of execution. So we can call this if as a two-way conditional statement. And similar to that one, else, if condition is false, then compiler is going to execute the else block. And then, as I said earlier, try, catch, finally, and this throws. And one more keyword we have, throw keyword. Right here it is, throw. All these 5 keywords will be covered in exception handling. And then we have do, while, for, continue, break, and switch, case, default. I think the people who do programming regularly are familiar with these words, right? Next one. At the same time, there are some miscellaneous keywords. So each and every keyword has certain purpose, right? These keywords are called as miscellaneous keywords. Here, the following are the list of miscellaneous keywords. This, I will explain it in the next slides. New, we all know that by using the new keyword, we are going to create an object of a class. Remember the creation of object of a class. When we want to create object of class A, then we are going to write a statement as A space obj equal to new A. So there you can observe we have used the new keyword. So new keyword is used to create an object. And similarly, in Java programming language, remember this new keyword. Whenever you want to create a memory dynamically, which means whenever you want to create a memory during the runtime of the program, you are going to use the new keyword. This new keyword is used along with the declaration or declaration of an array. This new keyword is used along with the creation of an object. And similarly, we are going to use this new keyword for various number of purposes in Java programming language, right? Remember only one point. Whenever the new keyword was used in Java, some amount of memory is going to be created in RAM during the runtime of the program. That is, the dynamic memory allocation is done by using the new keyword in Java. And then super keyword. So we have seen this super keyword in the previous session. In the previous session, we have covered the topic of constructor overloading or the constructor with inheritance. So during the topic, I have shown how this super keyword is used in the constructors. Similarly, the super keyword has three uses. We can use this super keyword along with variables or methods or in the constructors. I will explain what will happen if this super keyword is used with the variables. I will explain what will happen if the super keyword was used in the methods. And you already know what will happen if the super keyword was used along with the constructors. And then import keyword. Remember this one. In C programming language, when you want to bring one header file into the program, we use the keyword #include. So there, all the things lies in the header files. So that we need to bring that header files into the program in order to use them in the program. Similarly, in Java programming language, each and everything lies in packages. If you want to bring a package into the program, you have to use the keyword import. So similar to the #include in C, which will bring header files into the program, here in Java programming language, import is the keyword which we bring some packages into the program. So by using import, we are going to bring some packages into the program. And then instance of, I will explain it in the next slides. And then null, if you want to, we can initialize this null value to any variable so that the things inside the variable will get deleted. And then true and false, the things which can be provided to a Boolean type of variable. For example, I have declared a variable as something called as Boolean A, and inside that variable, I was allowed to store either true or I was allowed to store either false. Other than these two things, other than these true and false, I cannot assign any variable to this Boolean data type variable. So these are the two things that can be assigned to a Boolean data type variable. And then strict TP, I'll explain it in the next slides. Assert keyword, these are called as assertions. I will show it in the next slides. And then underscore, go to, and constant. So these two things can be explained during the programming, right? So I request all the people to please remember all these keywords or at least memorize them, right? So let us see some of the important keywords in Java programming language one by one. So let us see what is this keyword and what are the uses of this keyword in Java programming language, how the program will behave when we write this keyword, and how the program will behave when we don't write this keyword in Java, right? So I'm going to explain in detail about these 6 or 7 keywords. Later, after these 7 keywords, I will explain the remaining keywords in the next classes, right? So let us start the things with this keyword. See here, these are the different uses of this keyword in Java programming language. Remember the point. Remember the point. This keyword means, right? Remember the point. This keyword means this one, current object. This keyword means current object. So if you want to access the instance variables of a class, then we have to use the this keyword, right? Don't get confused. I will let us memorize these points and then we can go into an example program by using this keyword. See this one. This can be used to invoke current class methods. So if you are in a class A and from the same class only, if you want to call another method, then we can use this keyword. And then if you want to invoke current class constructor, for example, there is a class A and inside class A, there are two constructors. We all know that the constructor will be as of same name as a class name. So the two constructors will be A with 0 parameters and A with 1 integer parameter. And if you are executing constructor A with 0 parameters, and from that, if you want to execute the constructor with 1 integer parameter, then we can use this keyword. Remember this one. To execute current class methods, to execute current class constructor, to access current class instance variables, we can use this keyword. Keep these 3 points aside. I will explain them later. Just remember these 3 points. If you want to access the current class method, or if you want to access the current class constructor, or if you want to access the current class instance variables, we go for this keyword. These are the 3 main uses of this keyword. So let us see one program on this, and later we can move to the next different uses of this keyword. See here I am going to declare a class A, right? Class A, and inside class A, I have 2 variables. Those are int A equal to 10 and int B equal to 20. And inside that class, I have a method m which is having 2 parameters. Those 2 parameters are with the same name as instance variables. Remember this name. These variables are called as instance variables. These variables are neither local nor global, right? So for example, if I have declared a variable int C, then it is called as local variable because it was defined inside the method m and it cannot be used outside the method m. It is called as local. And at the same time, when we declare a variable inside the class and outside of a method, these variables are called as instance variables, right? Remember this one. And then here I want to print system.out.println. Sorry, system.out.println A, and similarly I want to print B also. So I need to write this statement again, system.out.println B. So this m method is going to print the values of A and B, right? Now declare a class something called as Z, and inside the Z I am going to write the main method of Java programming language, public static void main string args, right? So inside this main method, what I am going to do is I am going to create an object of class A. So after creating an object of class A, I'm going to call this m method. So any people who wants to call this m method, they have to call this m method by passing any 2 values. For example, those 2 values may be any 2 values. For example, my 2 values are 100 I'm sorry, 100 comma 200. So what will happen is this M method will be called, this 100 will be assigned to variable A and this 200 will be assigned to variable B. Now, if you print the A value and B value on the output screen, the compiler or the JVM will going to print 100 and 200. But if you observe, the instance variables are having A equal to 10 and B equal to 20. So if I am printing A and B values, it is going to print the parameter values, not the instance values are not going to be printed here, right? So let us see the output of this code, and then we can make certain changes and we can see how we can print these two values, that is 10 and 20 on the output screen. So let us save the code. First save the code as something called as capital Z.java. Z.java. One second. Z.java. Right. So now compile the code, what you have written so far. So there are no errors, and now run the code. So if I run the code, as I said earlier, it has printed 100 and 200, which means the values what we have passed here are printed here, right? So now what I have to do in order to print the values 10 and 20, if I say system.out.println, I have to get 10. If I say system.out.println of B, I have to get 20. What I have to do here is I need to use this keyword. So let us see what will happen if I use this dot A and this dot B. Save the code, compile and run the code. So you can observe here, now it has printed 10 and 20 over the output screen. This is the example of this keyword, how they are going to access this instance variable. So when parameter variables and instance variables both are same, you can see here I have used two variables A and B as instance variables, and I have used the two variables A and B as parameters. If both are same, then compiler is going to print the parameter values only. But if you use this keyword, then the compiler is going to access the instance variables. So let us see this one. For example, I have two more variables called as int cd. See this one. Let us see what will happen in case if I want to print all these four values where the parameter values are different from the instance variables. D. Save the code, compile and run the code. You can see here it has printed 10, 20, 100 and 200. See, because here int c is assigned with I'm sorry, just a second. Right, see here. So this int c assigned with something called as 100 and D is assigned with 200. At the same time, A is having the value of 10 and B is having the value of 20, right? So if I print ABCD, then the compiler will never have a confusion. What if I use this A and what if I use this B here? So there is no C and D variables. That's why I'm deleting this one, right? Just compile the code. And run the code. So if I run the code, it has printed 100 and 200. So here, generally compiler is going to print these parameter values. And if you want to make the compiler to print the instance variables, then we have to use this keyword. So whenever it happens only in case if the instance variables and the these parameters are same. And similarly, let us see, if I want to allocate instance variable to a parameter and same instance variable to a parameter. Now, compiler will never understand, right? Compiler will never understand which one is the instance variable and which one is the parameter. So in order to say the compiler, this is an instance variable, we have to use this dot a. And in order to say the compiler, this is an instance variable, we have to use this dot b. So this dot a will refer to this variable and this dot b will refer to this variable. Right? Now, what will happen in the sense, our instance variables will be updated by the parameter values. Right? Now, I think everyone understood. So see, the time is running away. See the slide. See the slide first, and then. So see the first point. Not the first point. See here. This can be used to refer current class instance variables. So with the example, what you have seen here, right? With the example, what you have seen here, I think you got some clarity. So if these are called as instance variables. So in order, if you want to access these instance variables, we have to use this keyword. If you want to access these parameters, we can use them directly. If the instance variable names and the parameter variables names both are different, then it is a different story. If instance variables names and parameters names are same, then in order to tell the compiler to access the instance variable, we have to pass this keyword. So finally, we can say that this is a keyword which can use it to refer the current class instance variable. So in the next class, I will continue the remaining things. Right? In the next class, I will continue the remaining things. I hope you all enjoy this session. And in the next session, I am going to cover the remaining keywords. And I really thank each and every listener of this video for being here. And if you have any doubts regarding this video, you can keep a comments in the YouTube video, or you can text to my personal number. I will explain the things. Thank you very much for being here.